Hello, welcome to the book report. I've got a real gem here today. The Price of Peace, Money, Democracy, and the Life of John Maynard Keynes by Zachary D. Carter. Fantastic book. There are sections of this book I think almost anyone could enjoy, particularly if you're interested in economics. But the bulk of the book would mainly be interested to people who are interested in Keynes specifically, particularly biographically. Even people that aren't interested in Keynes could read most of the book and enjoy it thoroughly just from a economic history perspective, political economics, which I think is one of the most important disciplines we have right now, because getting economics wrong is causing a lot of pain and suffering for really no reason. It's frustrating. So Zachary Carter, I believe this is his first real book, and it's fantastic. I can't wait to read his next book. He's really an excellent writer. He combines facts and history and research with fluid writing, clear writing, straightforward writing. Doesn't get too academic. It's a perfect blend of serious academic approach with accessible writing, I think. So really I would say that anyone who is very seriously interested in Keynes has to read this book. This is a must-read for Keynes, students of Keynes, people who are fans of Keynes. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that correctly, but I've heard it that way for years, so I'm going to keep up with it. And I would also say it would be an excellent addition for anyone who's serious about economics as well. Maybe not every page. You might skip certain sections, but it's really an excellent overview of the 20th century into the 21st even, from a Keynesian perspective. So the main thing I would want to share here is just a full appreciation for the brilliance of Keynes and the humanity of Keynes, and how much that's missing from so much economics, particularly the neoliberals. So I'm quoting here from page 272. The economics of the general theory, which is Keynes' greatest or most famous writing book. So the economics of the general theory are inextricably linked to Keynes' conception of the good life. He believed that strict adherence to the arbitrary tides of high finance during the Depression had acclimated the British to a sterile, ugly existence, when they might have instead enjoyed, quote, parks, squares, and playgrounds, with lakes, pleasure gardens, and boulevards, and every delight which skill and fancy can devise. Why should not all London be the equal of St. James's Park and its surroundings? The riverfront might become one of the sights of the world, with a range of terraces and buildings rising from the river. The schools of South London should have the dignity of universities, with courts, colonnades, and fountains, libraries, galleries, dining halls, cinemas, and theaters for their own use. Close quote. With the general theory, Keynes shows how the very construction of those wonders could create the wealth with which they would be paid for. I think that paragraph really encapsulates the spirit of Keynes in a nutshell. With the general theory, Keynes showed how the very construction of those wonders could create the wealth with which they would be paid for. just brilliant. So I think two major takeaways from this book, things that I've appreciated for a while but really gelled with this book. And one is that economics is not just numbers. It's not what some people might call a hard science alone. In fact, it's not enough of a hard science. The neoliberals tend to pick their facts and don't really look at the real evidence like a real scientist would. But anyway, it's way more than just a hard science. It's also about people. Economic systems are not rational because people are not rational. And to be a good economist, you need to account for that. You can't just wish it away. You can't just say it's going to come out in the averages. No. People's perceptions affect economies. And the way economies evolve, grow, or shrink is often irrational and based on people's perceptions and beliefs and general feelings, honestly. And Keynes really distinctly appreciated that. And so creating economic systems that can create positive feedback loops of reasonable expectation, positive expectations that sets you up for healthy growth, organic growth based on what could actually be done with the resources at hand, both human and material resources, can help countries, regions, and frankly at this point the planet reach a level of human dignity and living standards that anyone would be happy to have, and we can do it for everyone, and it is achievable, but we need economic leaders and economic thinkers and economic scientists to study how things actually work and incorporate the irrationality and emotionality of humans into the mix and understand that and build economic systems that are resilient and give correct emotional feedback so that people's expectations match what can actually be done and what we're capable of doing with the resources at hand, which is immense over time. Over time, we can do almost anything. That's another famous Keynes quote, right? In the long run, we're all dead, but in the long run, almost anything is possible. So, anyway, great book. So number one is that you can't be a great economist unless you incorporate the social sciences and the irrationality and emotionality of humans, right? The other big thing that really gelled with this book is that you also need to look at reality and how economies actually work and look at all of the evidence, not just cherry pick. Many branches of economics, notoriously neoconservatism, has led the world astray, frankly. We are not where we could be because of these I can't think of the right word at the moment. We're not where we should be because of neoconservatism isn't based on actual evidence. It has a set of dogmatic rules. Neoconservatism is not science. Neoconservative economics is not science. It is a set of dogmatic facts, quote unquote, that they then cherry pick the evidence to bolster and make it sound all scientific and good. For the most part, there are some neoconservative thinkers that are very solid and have made real contributions. So don't get me wrong. But as a whole, it has been done a great disservice. And Keynes' approach shows the weaknesses. He was a scientific thinker who actually looked at the evidence and changed his theories and his axioms based on the actual evidence over time, because he could prove to himself that he was wrong, that what he thought was correct when he was 20 and 25, he could prove to himself that was not correct when he was 35 or 45. So, okay, that was fairly incoherent, but there we go. Highly recommended book. Excellent edition for anybody who's a student of Keynes or economics.